Welcome everybody to this JesterBell Live. It is 7:11 a.m. where I am at in California. And last night, right before bed, the writer's strike finally came to an end. Now there's some fine print that they have to get through. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of this. Sorry. There is some fine print that they still have to go through, so we don't fully know yet what the new contract is going to entail, but we will be getting new details out this week. But it sounds that the writers strike or the Writers Guild of America is really, really confident in this new contract. So they seem to think that it is likely that the strike will be completely over once their members get a look at the contract and once that they approve of it. And then hopefully, if that happens by the end of this week or next week, then that will mean that it is completely done. Hello, Classic Harley Quinn. Thank you for being so early on this live stream. Thank you all the 4 people who've showed up so far. And so it seems to the people behind the scenes that it is going to be over. Now, I'm going to say something, and I'm going to get fiery about this because I've done some videos and some comments on the strike, the writer's strike and the actor's strike throughout the last 6 months or so. And what I get from a lot from people is, oh, they don't deserve to be paid. They don't deserve to be paid because She-Hulk exists, because Star Wars exists. First of all, the Writers Guild of America encompasses a lot of people. It does not just encompass people from the shows that you don't like, that I don't like. It encompasses everyone. The writers from Top Gun Maverick, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, the Spider-Verse movies, Arcane that I was just talking about. The writer's strike encompasses all of the people who write good content. I don't know if Martin Scorsese wrote Killers of the Flower Moon that's coming out, the script at least. I have to see who wrote Oppenheimer. Just a second. The script, was it Nolan who wrote the script, or was it somebody else? Script writer. Yes, he did write the script of Oppenheimer. So Christopher Nolan, a part of the Writers Guild, and all this thing encompasses everyone, or all these people who write this media, the good and the bad. And so, just on principle, it's like I'm not saying just because bad media has come out that people shouldn't get paid for doing a job anyway. That's how it works. And also, I want people who write good stuff to also get paid. And also, if you read the stuff going on behind the scenes of like just how much Hollywood just did not care about their writers. Writing just is not really cared about in the entertainment space. It's just it's sort of this fix and post mentality where the scripts that they get, they care the least about. If you were reading behind the scenes, the writers barely get any interaction with anyone else. They never show up to set. They're not really respected. And that, I think, is a huge problem, that we don't respect that kind of writing and how important it is to make films. And so that is part of the reason why the strike was important, because they're like, why are writers so often underpaid and they don't come to set and they don't get communication with the people behind the scenes in terms of what their scripts are? Like, a huge thing that I was reading about is how many times screenwriters are not trained to write for screen because they never get to go on a film set. They never get to see how things work. And so I think, once again, huge problem that you need to actually give these people training as screenwriters and understand what's doable for movies and TV under the specific budget. And so that's why this writer's strike was very important. Also, this is a huge one for me, and I hope we get clarity on it soon. That One of the big things about this writer's strike is that streaming services have not been honest. They have been hiding the numbers of what they're actually getting. And so they've been, for years now, spending so much on this content and churning it out. And um, I keep going blank. This is why I struggle a little bit with lives, but I got to practice more with lives. But they've been churning out all this content, and they have not been honest with people about how the shows are actually doing. We never get honest numbers from streaming services, and we need to. Now, I think the where we might not be win on this is, I think there's probably going to be something in the clause about how you have to show the numbers to the writers. I'm not sure if it's going to be that they have to show their streaming numbers to us. That's why I really need to see what this sort of new contract is. And but I hope that it means that we're finally going to get streaming numbers revealed. And another big thing was AI. And the AI thing, I'm going to talk more about the actor strike, which still hasn't finished yet. But there has just been reckless abandon with AI already. In fact, I have a theory. I've been wondering if the reason why the quality of writing has gone down so much in Hollywood is that they've been using AI in its infancy to make these TV shows. I've really been wondering if something like Mario wasn't written with AI. It probably was, because apparently all the way back when WandaVision was coming out, they took the background actors uh they took the background actors from WandaVision, and anyone can be a background actor, could be just regular people, and without telling them, they took the scans of the background actors and then were reusing their likeness and other things without telling them, without paying them, and that is just messed up. And that's why these strikes are important, to say there need to be some regulations. You can't just have uh these corporations take advantage of people like that and keep going on. So like that's, and you can disagree with me all you want, but that is like, I want the writer's strike to happen. I want us to get a better contract out there and better rules, and higher status for writers, so we can start fixing these problems. And it's just so odd to me because people are against the big corporations of Hollywood and the big studios and all that kind of stuff, who are the ones who are actually responsible for all the bad stuff happening, because they make all the decisions, they call all the shots. And the big studios are who the writers and actors are against during this strike. They are trying to hold their feet to the fire and change these practices. Like, the actor strike is still going on. I assume if the writer's strike ends so quickly, then the actor strike also will end pretty soon. Uh, but one of the things in the actor's contract, and I know this because I have a little bit of a connection in acting before, but there's certain rules for how long an actor can be on set and when they need to take their breaks and when they need to be done. And the studios have long since abused those rules. And so one of the provisions in the new actor's contract that they offered up was to say, okay, you need to keep to these rules. It was stricter rules about, you need to make sure your actors are fed at this certain time. You need to make sure that they get this amount of rest breaks. And that was rejected by the studio. So you see, guys, this is about much more than things getting, beloved IPs getting destroyed. The average actor is just lucky to get any job. I know, because I've known other actors. So, I saw a stat today that the average actor is not making $26,000 a year, which they need to be making in order to qualify for health insurance. So that's why they really are going forward with this strike and making so you can at least make a living on it. And remember, the average actor who is working a side job at Sloppy Joe's, just so he can act, just so he can pay his rent in LA, which is one of the most expensive cities to live in the world, they are not responsible for the downfall of Star Wars, for Indiana Jones turning out to be a bad movie, for The Flash turning out to be a bad movie. Stop blaming the average actors on, who have no power over any of this and are just looking to pay their rent. Stop blaming them and making fun of them for everything bad that is happening. Once again, these are the people against the big studios who are making these flaws happen. Let me look at some of these comments for a second before I get back to my ranting. But one person says, I was hoping it would go on for a decade. Once again, disagree with people. It's not going to go on for a decade. We need to actually have changes happen. We need to actually have positive changes happen. I'm not on here saying that I want to get revenge on Hollywood or that I want it all to just burn down. No, I want improvements to happen. I don't want everything to just burn down, because it's not going to. I want actual improvements to happen. Okay, so let me see. Streaming services have been honest. Yes. Oh joy. But I will say one thing. I am not saying that they have always conducted themselves well during the strike. For example, it seemed that a lot of the news outlets were going to like the top paid actors to get their thoughts on this strike. That is not good PR. That is going to get you more clicks because those people are more well known. But when you go up to the top 1% of actors who are making millions of dollars and don't need more money, that's just going to make yourself look bad. So I agree with that it has not always been advertised correctly. But, if you go to the average background actor, or average actor. Maybe he's lucky to get a guest job or some commercial work. He's people are going to recognize that person, and so that's why they go to the top top dogs in the industry. But those people, like, who was it, Billy Porter, saying that he couldn't afford his next house? That's not good PR for the strike. And so I will agree. I will agree that there have been some areas where it has not been advertised well, but if and I was getting some people writing to me when it started, and I was saying that I was for the strike and all that, saying, "Oh, but doesn't this person that you're friends with not be for? Are they not for the strike?" I'm like, I can be friends with people who I disagree with, but I do feel that a lot of people were just sort of going on their gut reaction of, oh, Hollywood is the place that makes all these bad Disney remakes and all these bad decisions. So of course I'm against it. Before I made my decision on where I stood with the strike, I actually went and read about it. I read about what they're looking for in the contracts. I read about the payment and all that kind of stuff. I don't just go on my gut reaction. And that I've done videos on here criticizing, mainstream blockbusters and how they're written and how they're advertised. Of course, I've talked about all that kind of stuff. But that does not mean that I'm going to look at this strike and see that this unfair thing is happening, and that this is probably a reason why we have so many problems in Hollywood, and say, oh, I'm against this. Like, these are the people on my side against the big studios. And especially if you read about what's happening with AI, and I'm not saying that AI will not have a place in technology in the future, but what I was reading about it just sounded like yet another way that the studios are trying to cut costs and be lazy and just find the laziest, cheapest way to keep producing things. And I'm like, I don't want that to happen. And so that is another reason why I'm against these big studios, and why I'm for the strike, to try to hold them to be like, you can't just lazily write everything off with AI like they've been trying to do with green screens and CGI. Why do you think CGI has gotten so bad? Because CGI, actually, the technology behind CGI has actually gotten better than it ever was before. But studios are lazy. They want to cut costs as much as possible. So they will give these unrealistic deadlines to VFX houses that they just can't. And everything is like fix it and post these days. Like, they'll film actors in front of green screens for just normal everyday scenes for everything. And you can't really give authentic lighting and stuff when you don't even know how it's going to look in post. That is why so much media looks bad, because of these studios trying to cut costs and try to squeeze people in and give them unrealistic deadlines. And AI was an extension of that they're going to use it in its infancy to try to cut even more corners. And I knew things are going to get even worse if that happens. So that is another reason why I was for the strike. But now that I have ranted enough and been like, look this stuff up, and you don't have to agree with everything that the strike is about, but don't just get a knee-jerk reaction about how, oh, the Hollywood, just thinking of them all in a conglomerate, is behind a lot of this stuff that I don't like. Therefore, I'm going to take a stand against the strike, not realizing a lot of these people behind the scenes are actually against a lot of the things that we've been criticizing, and actually are just these, low-paid workers who just want to pay their rent every month, and who don't deserve to lose their jobs because other people just want to shove them down because they lump them in with Bob Iger and all those kind of people, and like the people who wrote Rings of Power. Like, not everybody in Hollywood is the people who wrote Rings of Power. Like, these are like the top stuff, and you got to remember, there's even people. Like, if you watch the Michael Rosenbaum podcast, it's a great podcast. It's run by Michael Rosenbaum, who he played Lex Luthor in Smallville, and he did voice work with Wally West. And thank you for appreciating my rants, Alan. But Michael Rosenbaum, look up his podcast. He talks to a lot of different people, writers, actors in the industry. And he did a podcast with Frank Grillo, who played Crossbones in the MCU. And Frank Grillo was talking on this podcast about how the MCU has gone, he didn't use these words, but essentially gone wayward, and how it's, quote unquote, not like it was when he was a part of the MCU. He recognizes that the MCU has gone downhill. A lot of these people behind the scenes, that you're mocking, it's, oh, you rich actors, you rich writers. Most of these people can't even pay their rent. like a lot of these people agree with you with these franchises that they've gone downhill and that writing has gone downhill, and they want things to get better too. It's mainly been us against the big studios, and so that is a way that there is some common ground there. So I've ranted for now 15 minutes about the writer's strike and actor's strike, but you know, uh, do your own research on this stuff. Do not be writing off actors where 99% of actors are not rich. They are not millionaires. That is the people mouthing off at the Met Gala and stuff are like the top 1%. There is barely anybody who gets to that angle, and those might be the people who are pushed in your face the most, but that they do not represent actors as a whole. They do not represent writers as a whole. Writers, like, you know, when you think of a big film, I can't really think of writers themselves who are given much credit for big films and stuff. It's usually the director who gets the credit or the blame, whether something succeeds or fails. But the writers never get that. And I would be willing to bet like even less writers than actors are making a ton of money at what they do. But okay, 16 minutes gone. In terms of when we'll get the contract out, apparently the lawyers are going over it right now to get out the fine print and to make sure that they have the language correct. You know, this is where things get sketchy. I know this with contracts, where this is why a lot of people who get bigger in the entertainment industry, you need lawyers because contracts is where they'll try to screw you over. So they need to make sure that the studios aren't going to try to screw them over with this, that they make sure that the language is correct, that there's not sort of like any kind of sneaky fine print in there, and making sure that everything's in writing. Once again, we still need to have the members of the WGA ratify this before they can actually get back to work. But the WGA members, I mean, I guess the top committee seems so confident with this, then I'm pretty sure that it's going to go through. They seem really confident about it. The studio seem really confident. But, you know, here's the one thing that I do know about it is that this is only a 3-year contract. So to me, that sounds like a very, very short contract. And what I'm thinking it is, as I think the studios are buying themselves time. I think that they are looking, you know, AI is not nearly in the position, the advancement that it needs to be to actually write a script, to actually do all of this stuff. So, and they've been losing so much money. I think it was Warner Brothers. Let me see. Warner Brothers money loss. I think it like how much did they lose? Warner Brothers Discovery will lose 500 million over instead of agreeing to a 45 million union deal. So Warner Brothers Discovery, you know, the company that's probably suffering the most through all this, um, they were poised to lose a lot of money. And so I think that Disney has also been losing a lot of money. So they're looking at this, they're seeing all the money they're losing. Remember this, and this, we're going to have a big discussion about this by the end of the year, but this has just been an abysmal year for movies. Indiana Jones, The Flash, Blue Beetle, so many movies this year. The Little Mermaid have either flopped or underperformed. Even Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, because it had such a huge budget, it wasn't able to make it back, lost money. So the studios are just hurting more than ever before. So I think it got to the point where the pressure was on and they had to agree to the terms of this strike. And so I think that that's why they, because it almost seemed to happen overnight. Like there was no movement, and all of a sudden they came up. They came up to the Writers Guild this weekend, and it just happened so fast. Like day after day, progress was made. It seemed really obvious that it was all going to come to an end. Um, but I think that happened because they're like, we are losing money. We are going to lose a lot of money if we have to keep delaying things. So we need to get together and find an end to this. But I think that it's only, you know, maybe I'm not a person at liberty to say this, but I almost want to call it a temporary end, because the fact that the contract is so short, only 3 years, convinces me that they're going to use this time to regroup and see how they want to run this industry going forward. And that when it comes time to renew the contract again, they will have more bargaining power, maybe more terms that they can give up, because I don't think that AI and their alternatives right now are really working out. And so I think that we're not over with this. I think that this is the studios buying themselves time, so they're not going to kill themselves over this. But I don't think that all the issues are over yet because that contract is so short. But let's see what deal we get out. And I'll have to go live later when they actually show us the paperwork and we can actually see what that deal is going to be. Now, assuming that it is what the Writers Guild seems to think it is, and it is a really good deal, and that people are going to instantly sign aboard with it, then I would say that the writer's strike officially will be over, and people get back to work next by maybe the end of this week or next week for sure. And then, since the studios seem all of a sudden to have just this huge change of heart and want to just get these things done, you can't go back to filming. You can have some writing done, but you can't go back to filming and you can't go back to shooting until you get the actors back on board. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of weeks they call a meeting with SAG. I don't think it'll happen until after the writers' contract is signed and all of that. But I think what they will do is they will call a meeting with SAG and they will try to get that actors thing done, which if they get it done before November, that is going to be embarrassing because they blinked and they moved Dune, and that is the one movie for the rest of the year that anybody cared about. And so I'm mad about that you shouldn't you shouldn't have done that. You're going to just mess over theaters now because that was the one movie for the rest of the year that anyone cared about, and you didn't need to move it. I mean, I guess assuming that this is like done in mid-October or something, then that technically, because it was about the marketing and the actors being able to market it. And I suppose you need to have time to set up those interviews and pre-record stuff and all that. So it might not be enough time, but it still seems a bit ridiculous to me. I think that if you had moved Dune Part 2 to December, that would have been a lot better. And there's nothing really in December. What is it? Wonka? That's going to be a horrible movie. Aquaman 2, no one cares about. I mean, how many views did the Aquaman trailer even get? Let's look. I kind of slept through even the trailer. Like, I don't care. This is a movie, and I kind of, since my partial job as a reviewer right now, I've been going to movies that I wouldn't normally see. I went and saw Blue Beetle when I normally wouldn't see that, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm even going to go see Aquaman 2. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom trailer from the official Warner Brothers picture account only has 409,000 views. Did I say that correctly? 400,000 views. 409,000 views. How do you say that? Just over 400,000 views. That is so. Oh my gosh! Is there another one that has bigger? I guess. Well, that's a fake trip. Oh my goodness, you guys! I'm on the YouTube live stream, so I can't. I can't show you guys the exact thing, but Aquaman to the Lost Kingdom fake trailer that a fan made 5 months ago has 700 almost 800,000 views. It has more views than the Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom trailer for the Warner Brothers picture, which doesn't even have 500,000. Okay, here's one from Warner Brothers India that has almost 1 million views. So that's something. I guess everybody's clicking on the Aquaman 2 trailer from Warner Brothers India. Is there anyone that has more views than that? Oh my goodness. IGN, 356,000 views. To be fair, like, they've been really spreading out their releases, so that might spread out views. That is ridiculous, though. Okay, this is better. From the official DC Comics YouTube account, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, 13 million views. Okay, that's better. That still isn't great, though. That still is not great whatsoever. That is pretty cringe. That is absolutely cringe. That Aquaman 2 is just going to die. Some people are adding me. Hi, a heart for God. Not only is Dune Toon late, says Alan, but it will probably delay making Rendezvous with Rama if he ever makes it. Yeah, thank you. That is, and we'll get to that in just a second, of how much this is going to skip ads. Oh, you guys are going to get an ad. I'm sorry about that. Thanks for inserting. Why is YouTube like this? I bet nobody can hear me right now because there's an ad. Why is YouTube like this? There's zero marketing for the film. Less than 500,000 views. Thank you for clarifying that. Mura is in the trailer. Yes, I am aware. Sorry, I'm losing people already because YouTube decided to run an ad in the middle of this, and I couldn't stop it because they're like, you have 5 seconds to stop this ad. And that is essentially what happened. Somebody says, Dylan Mason. So kind of off topic, but with September half over, are you excited for the spooky season this year? Yes, and I have some plans for that. I'm going to do some videos because some people have been requesting me to do more obscure films. And by the way, this offended me. I knew that my female characters video was going to be controversial. Got people from both sides coming at me, saying things like, "Oh, women just have egos," or "Oh, women don't know what they want." Get out of here! Like I'm very clear. I very much know what I want, but I got somebody coming at me. Hello, Live It Loud. I got someone coming at me and saying, "You need to watch some horror movies." Horror is one of my favorite genres ever. Do you remember at the end of the video when I'm talking about how I have a script in the works with a more flawed female character that I want to get made? What genre of script do you think that was? What genre of script? It was a horror script. Why? Because I love horror. In fact, like all I've been watching lately is horror movies because we're getting into the Halloween season. There's great, you watch horror movies from, I was just exposed yesterday to like the ending scene from Sleepaway Camp that everyone says is so scary, and that actually did scare me. I had not heard of that before. But I have all these obscure films that I wanted to do videos for. I want to do a video on House, maybe The Vanishing. Like I know nobody has heard of The Vanishing. Just to give you some insight into it, Stanley Kubrick, who did The Shining, said that The Vanishing was the scariest movie he'd ever seen. I want to do some more videos on that. Of course, I did. Here's the problem, and this is what people don't understand. They're like, "Oh, you only do videos that get a lot of clicks." Well, yeah, because it is so punishing. Like I did a video last year about a quote unquote Christian horror movie that really scared me when I was little. I worked on it for like a month and I got like 200 views on it. It is punishing when you work so hard on something and then barely anyone sees it. You barely get anything in return. Some people go out there and they're just fine if they put out something and no one sees it. But for a lot of people, it just feels so punishing when you put so much effort into something to get barely anything back. And that is why a lot of people quit doing those kinds of videos. So, I did a poll about which kind of obscure films people would want me to talk about, and barely anyone even took part in that poll. So, but we'll do at least some, maybe I'll do one video that's sort of a conglomerate of a lot of these different movies, but I've gotten way, way off track now. But I was talking about Aquaman 2, talking about the strike. Okay. I know that there was something of, oh yes, because the strike went on for, I think, 176 days. This was the longest writer's strike in Hollywood history. We are going to see the ramifications of that. I think Drew Gooden did a video and he talked about just highlighting the ways that we saw the strike take its effect later. They weren't going to manifest right away. We had essentially 176 days in Hollywood where nothing was being written or worked on. Penguin, that show is going to have to get back on track. And I guess, Penguin, that show has been coming out forever and they just can't finish it. But I think it was the James Bond movie Spectre that really was damaged by the strikes, and I think that he attributed Lost. That Lost is a famous show that's infamous because it was so highly watched, but then the writer's strike happened, and that essentially destroyed the ending. And so we're gonna see like the ramifications of this. We're gonna see how it affects various TV shows and how it affects various projects that were happening, and just going for that long period of time where there was no writing and later there was no shooting, because the writer's strike already shut down a lot of shooting, but then the actor's strike absolutely did. So that is like a 5-month to 6-month period, because if you take into account that the actor's strike hasn't ended yet, let's just say it's a 6-month period where absolutely nothing was being done, nothing was being filmed, nothing. That is going to manifest itself later on as we see less and less things being released, and that is going to once again damage theaters, and that scares me a bit because I don't want the theaters to go away. They won't, but it's going to be really hard for smaller theaters. So it's not over yet. We're going to see the ramifications of this, and it is going to cost Hollywood lots and lots more money. But hopefully, now that they are away from the era where they were just making so much money and just throwing it on all these frivolous things, that they're going to have to tighten their belts, and that hopefully something will happen like what happened in the 60s and 70s, where because all these huge budget movies were flopping, it forced them to look for more creatives. Like that's how we got Steven Spielberg. That's how we got Martin Scorsese, because studios were forced to look for these very young up and coming directors because they could pay them cheaply, and that's how we got a lot of the new talent. So I hope something like that happens again. Somebody is asking me to read their comment. I don't have a highlight on here. A lot of unknown obscure horror movies, a great back on topic. I wonder what else the strikes will delay or so. Well, we know the Batman just keeps getting delayed. The Batman was actually supposed to start filming this November, the Batman 2, of course. Um, even I have a hard time believing that even if this SAG strike is ended quickly, that they will start doing it. I think that they had already decided to shoot the Batman in January anyway. Boy, the Batman 2 is just taking forever to come out. They should have been on that right after the first Batman came off, but they didn't, and that was a horrible idea. Okay, whew. I am getting hoarse now. Sorry, you guys. But I think I've talked about everything. But I'm excited that the writer's strike is coming to an end. I hope that it provides better deals and hopefully better things in the future. There is one rant I want to complain about, though, that this morning I was looking at the news and I saw that they're going to do an Office reboot, and that they said that it'll start up. It was going to be announced right after. Thank you. An angel gave me some water. They said that Office reboot, they were going to announce it right after the strikes end. And I'm like, guys, I'm on here trying to defend the writer's strike and defend the actor's strike and defend it from all the people who say Hollywood is just a bunch of reboots. And then you start your first call when the writer's strike ends is to announce an Office reboot. What are you thinking? You are not helping your case here. You need, oh my goodness. You come back with everything that people have been criticizing this whole time. Okay, I'm getting tired. I have a lot of stuff to do today. So before we sign off, any questions you guys have? Any questions you want to leave in the chat for me to answer before we sign off today? Going once, going twice. Let me just check something really quick. Check the news if there's anything else to talk about. And then we will get back to it. Doesn't seem like there's been any news this morning. Do you have any favorite superhero films? Asked Dylan Mason. My favorite superhero films are The Avengers, the first one, The Dark Knight, Avengers Infinity War, Captain America the Winter Soldier, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. If I were to pick 5 favorite superhero films, then those would be it. Okay, any other questions? Someone says, no one tells Sam Levinson the strike is over, by the way. Doesn't look like any more news this morning. Okay, got a couple more things. Iron Man, Superman, 1978. I'm not big on Superman 1978, but I do like Iron Man quite a bit. It's a really great movie. I do like, we're gonna do why I stopped caring about the MCU as my next big video. Which, I realized how much time it's gonna take me to make it. It'll probably be out by the time the Marvels comes out. Have a great day, y'all. 3 non-reboot stories. Arthur C. Clarke will make great flicks. Rendezvous with Rama, Isles of the Sky, and Childhood Sins. Okay, it seems like. Here's one more from Dakari. Do you like horror movies with happy endings or more sober endings? It always depends on the story and if it makes sense in the story. And some horror movies make sense with happier endings, and some are going to make sense with scarier endings. So it all depends. Unpopular superhero opinion. That's a little bit hard. I'm not a fan of Damian Wayne, and I don't think most people are. I think people just were forced to accept him. I like Iron Man 3. That's a hot take on it. I really like Iron Man 3, actually. I know that is not a popular opinion. I'm like, what are some other things? The other things are just sort of taste, not really. I think Iron Man 3, just how much I like that movie is kind of my big hot take for the day. Have you watched the Ahsoka show? Sporadically because my brother is watching it and I, just am on my iPod and just kind of hearing what isn't happening on the show because it doesn't seem like anything is. How about why stop caring about Marvel's upcoming X-Men or the mutants? Well, they might that'd be more something that could be in the MCU video, talk about the future, what they're doing, and why I've just kind of lost hope for it. You check what you said about Damien. Why would I do that? You asked my unpopular opinions. Okay, I think that's enough for now. Thank you guys for all your questions. We will do more streams later on and more videos very soon. Got some interesting Star Wars stuff coming out, and I will see you guys next time.